And white smoke has risen from the chimney of the Sistine Chapel, signaling a new pope has been elected. Crowds gathered in St. Peter's Square have erupted into applause and cheers at the historic announcement. The identity of the new pontiff has not yet been revealed. However, representatives of the College of Cardinals are expected to appear on the balcony overlooking the square within the next hour. The senior cardinal will formally announce the decision with the traditional phrase Habemus Papam, Latin for "we have a pope," and introduce the new pope by his chosen papal name.
And so we see in the blue there the gendarmes, the Vatican gendarmes, and the band they have there, and then of course the Swiss Guard in uniform there in position. So,
well, and just again behind the scenes, looking back behind all the process that's happening, I think is so interesting to think we're seeing the crowds waiting, cheering, trying to keep spirits up while they wait the hour or more until we know who the Pope is, and I think, as we were talking about, prayer is also a central part of this aspect as well. I mean, before the Pope comes out, we see the first ceremony, the greeting, the Te Deum, where in the Sistine Chapel, after being dressed and saying yes. The Pope goes back to the Sistine Chapel and he takes a seat on a chair and a ceremony begins. And it's introduced with a greeting from the senior cardinal of the Order of Bishops, and then they read a passage from the Gospel, which, as we talked about with Liz and also Dr. O'Donnell, I mean, it grounds the mission of the Pope, the office of the Pope in the Gospel, in the message that Christ gave to Peter, feed my sheep, tend to my sheep. So I don't know, it's a really special moment, I think, when you look behind what's happening right now as we wait for the Pope.
And speaking of the ground, please.
Just in the unbroken line of passing the authority and the responsibility of the papacy from Peter all the way on.
And now, going on the ground there in the square, we have Sister Nina Krankic, who's from Croatia and is with us there in the square. And she works here at Vatican News and is going to share us tell us more about her own experience there in the square. Sister Nina, can you hear us?
All of our listeners, to all who are following us online now. Pretty amazing. I just arrived here at the St. Peter's with my colleagues. We just rushed out of the building and we just arrived here. It's so many people already gathered here. There's the orchestra playing, as we can hear and see. The atmosphere is so getting warmed up and it's incredible. We're going to take our place somewhere here among the people, and we're going to wait for that special moment that is going to happen very soon.
Sister Nina, you must have run out of the building there to get there in the square, because I mentioned the crowds coming in now there's got to be some bottleneck there, isn't there?
Yes, we ran out of the building. All the colleagues started screaming, "Watch out, watch out!" There was a white smoke, so we just ran out and ran through the crowd, and we're going now. We're here in front of St. Peter's, actually, so we have a pretty good position. So we talk a little bit later. I can tell you more about what's going on, but you actually cannot arrive at the square now because there's so many people.
Well, exciting scenes there in the Vatican as white smoke billows from the Sistine Chapel, signaling that a new pope has been elected by the 133 cardinals who went into conclave a few days ago.